just one light, big as the ocean and the skies up above. There's just one power, waiting in prayer. Just one power everywhere. Just one power, one great love, big as the ocean and the skies up above. There is just one spirit, waiting in prayer. One great power everywhere. There's one great power everywhere. You know, there's just one purpose, just one spark, burning in our souls like a candle in the dark. There's just one chorus we all can sing. One great chorus, let it ring. Just one power, one great love, big as the ocean and the skies up above. There is just one spirit waiting in prayer. One great power everywhere. Oh, there is one great power everywhere. One great power. 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 Wow, one great power. Great power. One great power. One great power everywhere. You know, there's just one power, just one light, shining in the world like a beacon in the night. There is just one spirit, waiting in prayer. One great power everywhere. You know, there's one great power, one great love, big as the ocean and the skies up above. One great spirit, waiting in prayer. One great power everywhere. You know, there's one great power everywhere. You know, there's one great power. Yeah, yeah, everywhere.
Please join me in prayer. And today, we are grateful to step into the second half of 2023, speaking truth to circumstances, knowing that God is all there is. God is where everything begins. And we live from the space of cause rather than effect. We know that there's a power that makes things out of itself and that there is only good. Understanding that the wise warrior knows that there is no war outside of ourselves. There is the battle to master self within by stepping into that realization that there is only one life, and that life is God, that life is perfect, and it belongs to each and every one of us. We are wrapped in love, joy, peace, and harmony by an infinite power, one that is all-knowing, all-present, and all-powerful. Today we give thanks for all the souls that are here and other souls wherever they are, celebrating their connection to this power, whether that celebration takes place in a cathedral, a mosque, a synagogue, a chapel, on a mountaintop, in the forest, or in the living room. We give thanks for our beautiful musicians and our sound team. We give thanks for our practitioners and our ushers, all who come together to make this service possible. We give thanks for our Reverend Jenn Wilde, through whom Spirit speaks. And I know that the message that she brings will be the one that everyone within the sound of my voice needs to hear. And so I give thanks for this beautiful day. I give thanks for this way of life. I give thanks for that infinite power that connects each and every one of us. I release these words into divine law where they are already done in the mind of God. I let this go, I let it be, and together we affirm. And so it is. Our first words of inspiration today come from Michael Singer. A spiritual life is not about adhering to a special set of rules. It's about acting on your personal energy. Your initial reaction will generally be your personal stuff coming up. If you let go, you will be able to interact with the moment right in front of you. You will be able to interact in a much more constructive manner. Ask yourself, is there something I can be doing to serve the moment in front of me? From Chogyam Trungpa, warriorship does not refer to making war on others. Aggression is the source of our problems, not the solution. Here, the word warrior is taken from the Tibetan powwow, which literally means one who is brave. Warriorship in this context is the tradition of human bravery or the tradition of fearlessness. From our founder, the Honorable Dr. Ernest Holmes. The divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. All instinctively feel this. The truth points to freedom under law. Thus, the inherent nature of humanity is forever seeking to express in terms of freedom.
Here we are, another Sunday in July. We are still looking at that context of our monthly theme of speaking truth to circumstances. And it's about not being caught up in the illusion of what's going on, not being caught up in the story of what we see in front of us or the conditions around us, but to really be looking at the truth and to be recognize the truth of what's going on, who we are, and how we are. And today we're going to talk about the wise warrior. And so I got real excited about this because the idea of warrior always led me to believe it's someone who wants to go to battle. And that's not true, and you heard that in the quotes that Russell shared with us also. A warrior is just someone who has the courage to stand and persevere whatever is going on, who has an intention about the outcome. And then we can take from that the idea of a hero, because we also hear about a hero in the same stories a lot of times. And the hero is when that warrior is recognized. So someone has done something, it's phenomenal, it's supported someone, it's changed their life, it's saved their life, whatever. And now we take that next piece of the process and we go into that idea of the hero. And so we're going to look at the wisdom within all of this today and how this serves us. So there was a gentleman who came out of the grocery store and walked out to his car, and he realized in that moment that he had locked his keys in the car. And he didn't have a way to get in the car. And he couldn't reach out to his wife to bring him the key from home because she didn't have a vehicle. And so he's just kind of in that place of, what am I supposed to do here? And trying to process what's going on. And a young teenager on her bicycle rode up to him. And she could tell what was going on. And she said, well, call your wife and tell her I'm coming to get the key. And I'll just ride over to your house. And he said, oh, well, I live about 7 miles from here. And she said, that's okay. That's okay. And so she jumped on her bike. He called his wife, and she took off. About an hour later, she comes back with his key. And the man was just kind of blown away by the fact that she just did this. He didn't know this young woman. He didn't know anything about her. And he offered to pay her. And she said, oh, no, 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 no. No, you're not going to pay me. I needed the exercise. And he said he stood there just in awe of her act of caring for him, of her support of him in a situation where it could have been problematic. It could have been very costly to him. And he's just looking at her, and he said, in that moment, she just smiled, jumped on her bike, and like any other hero, rode off into the sunset. And so when we listen to stories like this, we think there's so many things like this going on in the world. There are so many beautiful stories about people of compassion and of determination and perseverance and support that are willing to help one another. Why is our conversation full of all the garbage, of all the negativity, of the, oh my gosh, did you hear about this? Oh, do you know what's going on over in whatever place? And we get caught up in that negativity. And this week, we have an opportunity to truly look at the wisdom of the warrior and how we can step up and be that individual as well. So I found this quote from Plotinus, which I love. And he said, I do not argue, I contemplate. And as I contemplate, I let fall the seeds of thought into the mirror of mind, which then becomes the mirror of matter. Are we taking enough time for contemplation? Are we looking at something and going, okay, I know this isn't the truth of what's happening. Let me take some time and allow my thought to process and see what's really going on here. You see, the way of the world today is of the unpeaceful and unwise warrior. It seems to be a lot about the individual who's really ready to jump into action, to be derogatory, to be critical on what's going on out there, and not really bringing good things to the table. It's the idea of the person who's jousting at every moving windmill. We've got the sword out. We know we have to go to battle. We think that's our purpose, and it truly is not. The wise warrior is anchored in peace and poise. Now, I don't hear the word or use the word poise very often, but when I saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, what a beautiful context to live in peace and poise, to not be willing to react, but to be willing to observe, allow, and then take necessary action if that's the case. The collective consciousness has taught us to jump up and down, scream and holler, kick our feet, and make a real spectacle of ourselves when we're not particularly happy. And it's gotten so good at teaching us this that many end up on videos for the world to see. Beautiful viral videos where we all want to go look and see someone just really acting out poorly. What is that about? When we truly want the experience of peace, when we truly want the experience of poise. Sometimes, when we stomp our feet, we scream and holler, we throw a fit. We think we are right in doing that. We think we are righteous in doing that. We believe that we have a good reason. Someone has harmed me. Someone has hurt me. Someone has disappointed me. And therefore, you, unfortunately, get to hear how I feel about that, if you were in my audience at that time. And so we want to move away from that and stop making war on the outer circumstances of life, because where we will find peace is within. So we can change everything that's going on out there by just working on the in here piece, the inner work. As religious scientists, we all know that there's one power, and behind that power, within every single circumstance, no matter how ugly, there's a divine presence. And I've thought, I was doing pretty good because I might scream and shout and stomp my feet, but then I get it turned around, I get adjusted, I get back on track. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm a work in progress. I want to stop the acting out, the screaming and the ranting and raving. I don't want to go into that piece anymore. I just do not want to. The wise warrior takes a step back and centers themselves prior to entering the fray. That gives them the opportunity to look past the appearances of what's going on and see the core reality of what's happening in the moment. That's wisdom. Pure, unadulterated wisdom. Let's choose that this week. So what we can say is, what do I want to see here instead? What would be better than this? What do I need to do to create that? How do I go forward? My grandson Gabriel has been around quite a bit since I've moved, and I just love this kid to death. And he comes in the house, and from the entryway to the downstairs and any other room that he touches or is in his view, he turns on the lights. And so we had a couple of conversations about, why are you turning on the lights? Why do you need all these lights on? It's not dark, it's daytime, and he had answers and I had stories, and finally about the fourth day I thought, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. Why am I asking him why? He's 8, doesn't matter to him. So what I did was, on the fourth day, he was downstairs watching TV, and I shouted down, Gabriel, what I need you to do is turn 3 lights off. And then I went off and did something and kind of forgot about it. And a little bit later I came back and he had done that very thing. He listened to a request and took action, and I didn't go into the brain damage with this poor kid about why on earth are you doing, because that was irrelevant. I mean, he's not the first of the grandkids. I had one that used to lock everything, anything that had a lock on it. A door, a window, it was locked, whether I was the inside of it or the outside of it. Eric Allen used to go through the house and lock everything. And so now I have one that just wants to turn all the lights on. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe we're making improvement, but my reaction just gets to be different. I don't need to be pounding out the reasoning. I can just use wisdom and ask a simple request, and he responded. I was just so in awe of that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so wonderful. So our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, gives us this beautiful, powerful quote. One alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority. What does that mean to you? That meant a lot to me. It reminded me of the Bible scripture on when God is for us, no one can be against us. We forget about this sometimes. We forget that when we are connected in the divine, with the divine, and as the divine, that we are a part of the complete majority. We don't have to get everybody else's opinion. We don't need everybody else's vote. God and me got it. God and I, we're moving forward, however that works for you. Aman Motwan wrote the book, Yes, You Can Change the World. Powerful book. And in this, we are invited to follow this path. And the path is an invitation of how we see we can make changes in the world. We're invited to look at the intrinsic worth of every single person in every encounter. Because every encounter you have is a relationship. We try to think that it's not. We think that a relationship is, there's got to be more energy, more stuff put into it. But it's not true. Anytime we interact with another individual, we have moved into relationship. And what we want to do is in that process and in that moment is to see the beauty and the value of that person. Not the way they're dressed, not the accent with which they speak, not the language that they're using, not even necessarily the subject matter of what they're talking about. Because when we do this, then we have aligned with spirit in that place of becoming of the majority. When we do this with every single person we encounter, it shifts our relationships and our interpersonal mindset. It takes us out of the decision that others are not smart enough or don't get it. I have a tendency to rationalize someone's behavior so that I can better understand it. And if I'm rationalizing someone's behavior, I'm possibly putting a label out there that I don't have the right to put out there. So I really like this language that Aman uses in the book. We want to be reminded that we can focus on our practices, and he gives us these 3. Number 1, focus not on how little time we have, but how to make the most of the time that we have. So instead of being in relationship with someone and thinking that your time is limited, or this person is aging, or that they're leaving us, or that they're ill, or that there's a problem, instead of going to that, valuing that moment by moment, every bit of the energy that we have to share with them now, to look at it that way. Secondly, focus not what you see on the outside of a person, but on the person within. As soon as we can do that, and boy, I would love to master this in this lifetime. As soon as we can do that, what we have done is we've moved out of judgment. I don't have to criticize you at all, because I'm embracing the truth of who you are, your inner being. What a beautiful, beautiful idea. I can see the person, I can see the pain, I can see the challenge, I can see the love, I can see the joy. And then thirdly, focus not on what's wrong with a person, but what's right. I can give you lots of lists. I can give you a list about me, for that matter. You probably have one of me as well. We can look at all those things, about all the things we do wrong, all the behaviors that show up, all the ways that we do stuff and that tick people off or upset people. We can do that. But let's look at that inner being. Whether we perceive it to be weak or strong, let's look at that inner being and connect with that and embrace that and use the wisdom around that. Because what we are invited to do, my friends, is to become the change that we want to see in the world. And it may seem like a small thing in the face of what appears to be overwhelming challenges, but every change starts small and grows. Albert Einstein said we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. We can all perceive that there are a lot of things that need to be changed. And we can all agree that the out there is a reflection of what's going on in here, oftentimes. I'm projecting my inner being. However, the guy that started this problem to begin with isn't necessarily the same guy, person, mindset, thought process, as the one that is needed to correct it. And what I love about our philosophy is we have that opportunity to shift that by just reaching out to someone for prayer support. What a simple, easy context. We can bring the spiritual practices together, and we can get the help, we can get the support, that we can get the things we need. Sometimes it just shows up. We move away from the problem enough that all of a sudden there's like a new perspective, and it's like, well, why didn't I think of that 3 weeks ago when I was beating my head against the wall, and now it's just shown up? Well, you know why? Because I wasn't ready for it 3 weeks ago. I wanted to play whatever the game that was I was playing, but now I've moved out of that, and now I can embrace it. Now I can accept it. So we are consciously, and sometimes unconsciously, manifesting new, fresh events in our lives. And we know that principle is not bound by precedent. That means that there is nothing that is going to impact the principle. It is the law. It is a part of the law. It is what it is. It just is. And so we can look at this and we can shift our thinking into that process. This morning, I drove up to Denver early and I attended services at the Althea Center. What a beautiful place, what a beautiful community. And I was there for a specific reason. Many of you know Christine Monks, who is one of our ministerial students. She was with New Dawn on an internship some time ago. Well, now she has asked me to support her in her speaking and help critique some of the things she's doing and help her, just give her some support. And so I came up to see her speak. And she told a story that I'm going to share with you. Because she too realized that it's easy to get into the grumbly. It's easy to get into the critical. It's easy to go into righteous mode and say, how dare they? How dare they do this? And here's the context in which Christine shared with us. In the evenings, as part of her exercise, she walks around her neighborhood and she picks up dog poop. Here's why. She was out walking time and time again, and she would see evidence of people who did not clean up after their dogs. And she was livid. She was upset. She complained. A lot of her neighbors complained. And the whole premise of that was, they should know better. It's the law. This is what you're supposed to do. They even give out free bags for Pete's sake. I mean, we can go down that path. I've been going down that path for 4 weeks since I moved with certain circumstances that have happened in my life. And I'm sitting here this morning listening to her, and she said, so what I decided to do was, well, why don't I just go clean up the poop? And I'm sitting there going, oh, my gosh, of course. Because now she has moved into creative mode and servanthood, where she is being a servant to the community and she's supporting. And guess what? She didn't have to complain anymore because she's taking care of the challenge. And so what she said was, it's so interesting because some evenings that, you know, she cleans up quite a bit of dog poop, and some evenings she doesn't see any. However, she made a comment after service today that I thought was priceless. Individuals in her life are criticizing her for doing that.
Oh, for heaven's
They're saying things like, you're being codependent. You're allowing those people to keep doing what they're doing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that does not even fit in our philosophy. Just pick up the poop, for heaven's sake. If that's what's going on in your world, if that's the complaint that you have, if that's the most horrific thing that's going on for you, step in, pick it up, and put it away. Put it where it belongs. What an idea. And I was so lifted by that because I thought, okay, where's the dog poop in my life? Where is the wisdom that I need to move past that grumbling stage and to take action? Because most of the time, yes, we have to take action. We can't sit in inactive mode and just pray about it and know it's all going to resolve itself. Yes, prayer is good and prayer is answered, but we have to treat and move our feet. We have been told that over and over again. There is action that is required of each and every one of us. So I thought that was such a beautiful story, and it spoke to me in volumes. She's a warrior. She probably doesn't even think of herself as a warrior. In 2017, Christine Monks went through transgender transformation and went from male to female. She takes a stand for transgender people. She's doing a lot of work in that arena. In fact, she has an article that's going to be in the Science of Mind magazine either next month or the following, that she has written about the work that she's doing. That's a warrior, taking a stand, persevering. And she's also a warrior by cleaning up dog poop. So I don't want you to take this week and go, well, that's too demeaning. I'm sure that's not what I'm supposed to do, or that's not going to be good enough. Every little thing, every little step, every little piece helps us change this planet. So let's all look at how we can be better warriors this week. Dr. Holmes also tells us this. What we demonstrate today, tomorrow, and the next, if everyday things are a little better, a little happier, a little more harmonious, a little more health-giving and joyous, if each day we are expressing more life, we are going in the right direction. We are going in the right direction. I don't have to feel 190% better tomorrow. I just need to feel a little bit better. I just need to see a little bit of progress, a little bit of shift, and a little bit of change. When I came to this community 5 years ago, I met a mighty warrior. I met quite a few. Some are in this room today. But this particular one goes by the name Carol Van Fleet Swift. She came into my office, she plopped herself down in a chair, and she just pretty much looked like I wasn't going to leave the room until she was done saying what she needed to say. And she shared with me how she felt about me as the new minister and the support that she was determined and intent on providing for me. And I was in awe of her. And she became my support person. She became that person that 9 times out of 10, if I wasn't quite sure what I was trying to work through or whatever, I would call her on the phone. She would take me back to principle. She would identify what's going on. She would take me into prayer. I mean, she was so grounded in this philosophy. And I also want you to know that there were times when I would call her, and what she came back to me with was not even close to what I thought we were going to be going towards. So I was trying to solve the problem I created in my head. I was praying, I was doing, all the stuff that I think I need to do, and then I would call her and she would go, nope, how about we do this? And shifted me. Now I tell you this story for a couple of reasons. Number one, I love this woman, I miss her incredibly. And she was so powerful, so powerful. And I also want you to know that she was a licensed practitioner, and that we have licensed practitioners in this community who have been trained to do the very same thing for each and every one of us. So why not reach out? Why not reach out and get some prayer support when we're getting into that place of maybe grumbling too much or finding fault with too many things, or we're just feeling that heaviness in the body that says, I just don't feel like I can go on, something isn't right. Why wouldn't we pick up the phone and dial that number for one of our beautiful, talented, trained, licensed practitioners to support us in that process and help us shift the story and move into prayer? We have that opportunity. So even if we're not the wise warrior in the moment, we can be the wise person seeking the support of the warrior. Eric Butterworth reminds us to always get the view from the top. Before you react in negativity to people, conditions, or things, take a moment. Lift up your eyes to the hills. Contemplate all the changing, challenging experiences from the highest possible point of view. From the view from the top, you will see things creatively, leading to an attitude that is constructive and optimistic. I have never, ever looked at the sky and come back to whatever I was viewing before without a better perspective, ever. To look at the clouds, to see the beauty, to see the clarity, to climb the mountaintop and see how different the perspective is from up here as opposed to down here, and what it can do for us and how it can support us in moving forward, in shifting and changing. The wise warrior knows it's not their power that creates the change. The wise warrior recognizes, as we do, that we are co-creators with the infinite. We open to the life that we want to happen through us, not to us. We remember that we're directing the power and that this power is greater than the stuff. There's an old saying that says, I stopped telling God how big my problems are, and I started telling my problems how big my God is. The first time I read that years ago, I started changing my prayer, changing my language, and saying things like, my God is more powerful than this. All I got to do is listen, pay attention, live in that space of wisdom. When we stand as wise warriors, which is another term for practitioners of truth, we align and become infinite with the power of good. It's not just something we talk about, it's what we are. It's alive within each and every one of us. We're not just speaking words into an empty arena. It's the truth of our being. We must be that very power that is love, harmony, and unity. And the good news is, that's what we already are. We already are united. We already are harmonious. We already are filled with love. So this week we want to seek the love. Be patient. Wait for the wisdom. Because you'll notice in some of the historical stories and documents that we have that sometimes you read about a warrior, they don't necessarily just jump into action instantaneously. They step back, they come up with a plan, they look at strategic ways to go about it, they pray for the wisdom. When David slew Goliath, he didn't just go running across that field with a stone in his hand. He took the time, he took the energy, he knew that he was God's only, and he knew that Spirit was supporting him. It's a process, step by step. Black Elk gives us this quote. The commitment is within your heart and path you walk. A true warrior has confidence to stand alone, the courage to make tough decisions, and the compassion to listen and help. Each one of us today, and everyone watching this video online, is called to be an active part of the evolutionary change of our planet and humankind. Each and every one of us. It might not be a huge contribution in our opinion, but it is a contribution we're being asked of. We can no longer hide in our own little caves, pretending we're safe. We are required to step into boldness, courage, and strength. To leave the safety net. Yes, I know you don't want me to say this, but to jump into change. Oh my goodness. And I'm really done with change right now, but I'm going to say it anyway. To jump into change and know that sometimes you just got to take the hat full of all the troubles and throw it up in the air and see which ones land back in the hat, and then let's pay attention to those and let the rest of it go. Sometimes that's what we need to do. We all change day by day, moment by moment. However, we have the desire and the wisdom to choose change positively that supports us and enhances our growth. Are we willing? Are we willing to do whatever it takes? Are we willing to take a stand? Are we willing to support this community and other communities and nonprofits and people that need us and places where support is needed? Are we going to pretend there's nothing we can do? We don't have the power, and we can't help. Today, we have the tools of change. We have the principles, we have the practices, we have the methods, and we are equipped as mighty warriors as we choose to be. Let's take this week, tap into that wisdom that is God's, because that wisdom that is God's is also ours, within us. And let's look at what the warrior can do to change the process of what is happening in the world today. And then let's see what the rewards are that come to us when we start this change and move forward. Please pray with me. I know in this moment that there is a power, a presence that is greater than anything I've ever imagined. It's greater than anything I've ever tapped into. And every time I touch it, every time I use it, it fulfills me, it supports me, it guides me. And it is this power that we call God. It lives within me. It lives within each and every one of us. All people everywhere are filled with this energy, this power that we know as God. Our greatest challenge is that some of us aren't paying attention and some of us don't want to know more about it. However, right now in this moment, we stand for the truth. We stand for the truth to circumstances, and we stand for the truth within each and every one of us, and we allow ourselves to tap into that wisdom of God that tells us when to act and when not to act, and when to hold our tongues, and when to speak, and when to give, and when to receive, and all of those amazing, wonderful things that Spirit has in store for us and that supports us in our day-to-day activities. How beautiful it is, how good it is, how rich this feels to know that we are not alone. We are supported, guided, guarded, directed, and protected by God. And so what I know right here and right now is that all people everywhere are blessed. Each and every single one. And that this week, my desire and hopefully our desire is to see that beautiful, peaceful being within, that godliness within each and every person. Because this seeing and this knowing carries us through to being the change that we want to see in the world. I just give thanks. I give thanks for the power of prayer. I give thanks for God in all things. I give thanks for the very opportunity to be in this place, supporting others, loving others, and loving self. And so today, we just let this go with gratitude, joy, thanksgiving. We let it go, we let it be, knowing it's all good and it's all God, and by God, it is already done in the mind of God. And so we just release it as we say together, and so it is.
I have often dreamed of a far-off place where a hero's welcome would be waiting for me, where the crowds would cheer when they see my face, and a voice keeps saying, "This is where I'm meant to be. I'll be there someday. I can go the distance. I will find my way. If I can be strong, I know every mile will be worth my while. When I go the distance, I'll be right where I belong." Down an unknown road to embrace my fate. Though that road may wander, it will lead me to you, and 1,000 years would be worth the wait. It might take a lifetime, but somehow I'll see it through, and I won't look back. I can go the distance, and I'll stay on track. No, I won't accept defeat. It's an uphill slope, but I won't lose hope. Till my journey is complete. But to look beyond the glory is the hardest part. For a hero's strength is measured by his like a shooting star. I will go the distance. I will search the world. I will face its harms. I don't know, I don't care how far I can go there. I can go the distance till I find my hero's welcome waiting in your arms. I will search the world. I will face its harms till I find my hero's welcome waiting in your arms.
Hello, I'm Reverend Jenn Wilde, Senior Minister for New Dawn Center for Spiritual Living. New Dawn Center is a global community, and we welcome all people, all paths, all ways of thinking, all philosophies. So know that you are welcome here, and thank you for joining our online community.